Let's bring in Rosa Prince, Politico's London Playbook editor and political editor of HuffPost UK, Kevin Schofield, now to discuss this morning's newspapers. And in the last couple of hours, we've been showing people the front pages, a lot of them focusing on the protests planned today and the controversy over the fact that it's Armistice Day as well. And the Express is a fairly typical front page of some of the papers, isn't it? Because they talk about the Prime Minister's message today to anyone considering going out and joining a protest or a counter-protest.
That's right. So the Prime Minister clearly did not want these protests to go ahead, even more so his Home Secretary, Suella Braverman. He's kind of reduced here to pleading with marchers not to cause trouble, perhaps not even to turn up, because he wasn't able to get the march banned. He put a bit of pressure on Police Chief Mark Rowley, who said, look, I don't have, the law doesn't exist for me to ban this march.
Well, certainly the thresholds haven't been met.
Quite, and so it will be going ahead. You can't help wondering whether people are actually almost sort of defying the government at this point, and it made it more likely that people would want to turn up because all of the papers predict that it will be the biggest turnout yet. Some are saying as many as 500,000 people could take to the streets, so it's definitely going to be a big day today.
And do you think the tone has shifted at all, Kevin? Because we did hear that the Home Secretary apparently met the Met Police Commissioner yesterday and said that she backed the police in their operations. And Rishi Sunak, earlier in the week, has said that anyone that went on a march today would be disrespectful to do that. And today the language seems to be a little bit softer, or is that not the right reading of it?
No, I think that's right. I think the messaging coming from the government's been quite confused. Actually, at the beginning of the week, I think they probably fancied their chances of being able to block it. So they were talking up how awful it would be for it to go ahead, and then as it's got closer to the day itself and they realised it is happening, that they can't stop that, then they're maybe trying to dial down the pressure a little bit. The Suella Braverman thing is very interesting because, you know, her now talking about how she supports the police is completely different from the article just a couple of days ago in the Times, in which she was accusing them of being biased towards left-wing protesters. So there is definitely a shift. I think the government has probably called it wrong earlier in the week and are now trying to bring down the temperature a little bit.
Except, I guess, the temperature over whether or not she'll stay or go hasn't necessarily been brought down. We don't know how high the temperature is inside Number 10. They say that they're holding some kind of internal inquiry into how her article went out without the requested amendments from Number 10. And you want to take us to The Guardian here, where they're already talking about the runners and riders for her job, and she's not been sacked yet.
She's not been sacked.
Do you think she will be?
I don't think she will. I wonder if she might actually just walk out herself. So we've got, it feels like the moment has been missed to sack her over the article, but we do have coming up, obviously next week, the ruling in the Rwanda immigration case. And you've got to bet if that goes against the government, she's going to say, we need to pull out of the European Court. If Rishi Sunak doesn't immediately sign up to that, perhaps she'll go. So I definitely think there could be a vacancy. It might be in the reshuffle. He might sack her, or she might go. There are sort of various routes to this. And yeah, The Guardian are a couple of steps ahead and have got the runners and riders here. They've got Michael Gove in the lineup. I see Matthew Parris in his column today predicts that Michael Gove might get it. A couple of other options, Oliver Dowden, the Deputy Prime Minister, and Kemi Badenoch, the Business and Trade Secretary, and you've got Robert Jenrick, who is already in the Home Office, so would be probably a smooth step up there.
Yeah, as well as Claire Coutinho, Mel Stride and Grant Shapps already also on their list as well. Take us to the FT though next, Kevin, would you? Because we've talked about them suggesting that Jeremy Hunt might lower business taxes, but there's also an article here about the White House apparently shifting its tone a little bit on the war.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? The Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, has said that far too many Palestinians are dying under the Israeli bombardment, and it does mark a bit of a shift in tone up until now, and they still are, to be fair. The US government's been very foursquare behind Israel supporting its right to defend itself. But, you know, if this bombardment continues and we see more and more innocent civilians dying in Gaza, you can see how the pressure on Israel from America, because let's face it, it's America who are the ones who can put the most pressure on Israel, will intensify. And then the question becomes, what do our politicians on this side of the Atlantic do? Because up until now, they've pretty much sort of taken the lead from Washington.
so much more to be discussed about that. We don't have time for now, but I do want to just squeeze in a story about John le Carré. We don't have a huge amount of time, but this is in The Guardian, isn't it?
Yeah, lovely story suggesting that le Carré's son, Nicholas, is going to write another Smiley novel. You remember Smiley is the protagonist in a lot of le Carré's novels, and he's going to fill in the gap between two really iconic classics, which is The Spy That Came In From the Cold and Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. So I'm really excited to read that one.
Yeah, fantastic. Hope he's got his dad's talents. Anyway, Kevin and Rosa, lovely to have your company this morning. Thanks so much for taking us through the papers. Stay with us. Still to come here on Sky News Breakfast.